Everyone loves a good old haunted house story. The Frighteners. The Frighteners stars Michael J. Fox and is directed by Peter Jackson. What's up, guys? Killer flicks is a crazy thing. I believe it might have been Andrew Becker who posted about The Frighteners, and I stated that I had not seen The Frighteners yet. It's just one of those 90s movies that kind of came and went for me. Wasn't a big box office hit at the time. For some reason, I just never had the desire to see it. But, of course, a lot of people in the comments said, "You've not seen The Frighteners? That's crazy. You need to see this movie. It's a classic." And I've never even heard anybody call it a classic before. But, you know, shortly after, I got 2 copies in the mail. One from Kevin Smart and one from Cody Leach. And I appreciate you guys sending this to me. Really awesome. I guess they both sent it at the same time before I could catch one of them. But you know what? Still, it's really nice of them to send me this movie or these movies. And this is a Patreon requested review for Kevin Smart, who is one of my patrons. If you check out my Patreon tiers, you can see that if you pledge a certain amount to a certain tier, then you can get a requested review. And his request was The Frighteners. Now, one thing I will say is I never knew that Peter Jackson actually directed this. This was before he did Lord of the Rings. And also, this was around the time that he was originally going to be doing King Kong. But then I guess Mighty Joe Young came out around the same time, so he had to back out of that. And I guess the special effects at the time weren't up to par as they should be, so he waited until 2005 to eventually do King Kong. But quick plot synopsis on The Frighteners. Probably one of the most likable guys on the planet. Michael J. Fox plays Frank Bannister. He was originally an architect, gets into a car wreck, and his wife dies. And he has an accident, and he lives, but he has some after effects where he can actually see the dead. And so at the beginning of the movie, he uses that to his advantage financially, kind of a con artist, to con Lucy and Ray because of Johnny Bartlett, who is in the form of the Grim Reaper. And so throughout the rest of the movie, Frank Bannister is trying to find out A, who the Grim Reaper is, and then B, to put an end to all this madness. Okay, guys, let's start out with the pros for this movie. This was my first time seeing it. I will say, though, right off the bat, that this is one of those movies that I could watch again, and I might end up liking it better. But there is some things I did like about it on this first watch. First off, Michael J. Fox, that's the obvious. This was his last starring role in a movie. He pretty much only did TV after The Frighteners, but I mean, he shines. He really is, in my mind, and you know, as far as my generation goes, one of the greatest leading men, most likable leading men to ever grace the silver screen. He's, you know, Back to the Future, Teen Wolf. Everything he does, he's just one of those magnetic actors. He has that it factor. You can't help but like the guy. And it sucks when the most likable people end up getting these horrible conditions. And he got Parkinson's disease. And it's really obvious in this movie, actually, if you watch it. You know, I'm sure when you watched it the first time, not knowing about it, you probably didn't notice. But watching it this time, I definitely noticed his condition. And not that it took me out of the movie or anything. He was still just as passionate an actor, just as entertaining. And it's always a joy to watch Michael J. Fox in any movie. As a matter of fact, Robert Zemeckis and Peter Jackson, they actually sought Michael J. Fox out first and foremost for this movie. Luckily, they were able to get him. Tom Cruise was a backup and another actor, but yeah, eventually they were able to get Michael J. Fox. And like I said, last movie for him. And it's a respectable last movie. You know, this is not a bad movie at all. I just have certain problems with it, which I will get into in the cons. Secondly, I did like the I guess, Johnny Bartlett character and the Grim Reaper that's, you know, coming in and out and, you know, killing people throughout the movie. And, you know, if you do some digging behind the scenes, Johnny Bartlett is actually based on a real life case. But, you know, this has a nice twist to it too, because, you know, it's bookended by these scenes with Dee Wallace, who plays Johnny Bartlett's love interest when he was alive. And so throughout this, we find out in the end that he actually uses her to help him kill. His goal when he was alive was to be, I guess, the most active serial killer, to rack up the most bodies. And so he continues that after death. Also, you know, if you want a fun haunted house type of movie, this gave me those Haunted Mansion vibes, the Disney ride, not the movie. I haven't seen the Haunted Mansion movie. I've heard it's horrible. But the actual Disney ride is something that I make sure I attend every time I go to Disney World. It's just such a fun ride. So this definitely has those vibes in it. And there is some fun to be had. And then of course you got R. Lee Ermey, rest in peace, who has a scene where he's pretty much the same character he was in Full Metal Jacket. You know, the filmmakers envisioned this role as an R. Lee Ermey type of role, not expecting to get him. But, you know, he did take the role actually. So he's got some fun moments in this too. Now for the cons for this movie. And I'll just go ahead and say, ultimately, I was not the biggest fan of this movie like most people are. And for me, it comes down to the characters. There were quite a few characters that I guess this type of comedy wasn't for me. First off, the ghosts, Cyrus and Stuart, that accompany Frank Bannister throughout the movie. Every time they were in a scene, I just found them kind of annoying. Slapstick. I'm not a big slapstick comedy guy, so I just could not get into them as characters. Also, the character Ray, who dies earlier in the movie, I found him completely annoying. And I know he was supposed to be annoying, but for me, it just felt way over the top. And his wife, Lucy, as soon as he dies, it's like she has the hots for Frank Bannister pretty quickly after. And then finally, Jeffrey Combs, who plays Special Agent Dammers. This was a very eccentric character, I will say that. His acting in this movie is very good. You could tell that he might have been kind of like a method actor behind the scenes with this character, because he really goes all in with the character. Again, unfortunately though, it was one of those characters that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, I guess. There was just something about him that bothered me, and it's hard for me to put my finger on it, but I just didn't find him as entertaining a villain as I wanted him to be. And I know that's kind of weak sauce, but yeah, in the end, every time he was on screen, I was kind of annoyed. And I believe he was in Reanimator, which I have not seen, so I know I'm gonna get knocked on the head for that one. But in the end, as the character that he played, I don't know, I couldn't get into it. Guys, right now, I'm gonna give this a humdrum. Like I said, it's a movie that I will probably watch again, maybe in October, because it does have a good Halloween vibe to it. So maybe I'll get some enjoyment out of it the next time. But this time around, maybe I was just picking it apart too much, but it wasn't for me. And I know that's gonna break a lot of people's hearts, but I gotta be honest. So anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on the Frighteners? Let me know in the comments. Also, thank you, Kevin Smart, and thank you, Cody Leach, for sending me the Blu-ray. We'll definitely be watching it again, giving it another shot. I like giving movies another shot if it's a humdrum or above. You know, if it's 2 hours lost and below, then I'm usually done with it. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays we do Free Fall Fridays. If you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.